Hello, good morning, and welcome to Shut Up and Sit Down, the board game review show. And we're in training because we're soon to be famous. We'll be on real life TV any moment now. In the meantime, we're going to be trying some 1 versus 1 dueling games this episode, including the Cold War game, the Blackjack Bluff Fest that is CIA versus KGB, the medieval siege simulator that is Stronghold, and an amazing expansion from Memoir 44, one of our favourite war games, which you'll have seen in episode 1, won't you? All of these games will have you whipping your wits at one another like damp towels in the shower.
Woo! Good hustle, Paul. I need electrolytes and sodium stat.
Alright, I need to go to the bathroom, have breakfast, and we're ready.
Paul, have you seen my electrolytes? Ooh, no. Were you getting on with the first review?
No, because I
awesome.
The doctor says I have to
Let's
actually be
rock.
regular. I need to...
CIA versus KGB is a game set in a theatre of the Cold War. What's on stage? Depends which performance you catch. Korea, Vietnam, Nam. But this is only a puppet show where you pull the strings, and there's a very real chance that you'll bring down the house. Which is a metaphor for nuclear war.
No, there are no nukes in the game.
Satire. I love it.
Okay, no, why are you by the window?
Because I'm smoking.
Because you're Were you even alive during the Cold War? Okay. This is a small box game that plays like a geeky, glutinous version of Blackjack. Each round you'll be vying for control of a certain territory somewhere in the world, and players will draw from the group deck group cards that have some kind of power and particular value. What they won't want to do is go over the value of that territory, because if they do, they destabilize it. They lose control of it to their opponent, and they lose their agent. And we haven't mentioned those agents yet.
The actors have yet to take to the stage.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Because this will be the performance of their lives. Before you begin your play for each territory, you'll select a character to cast in this playhouse of shadows. An unknown quantity whose power...
Yes, while you're playing this regional buckaroo, you will also secretly select an agent whose power will somehow affect your regional meddling. For example, if you pick the Master Spy, well, should you lose the territory, you'll actually win the territory. Or if you send in your Analyst, you'll get to see what cards are coming next. And then the Assassin, if you send this guy in, well, you actually get to eliminate the enemy agent should you win. Nasty stuff.
Of course, this is a war not of weapons, but of words. Do you have what it takes? Could you handle the heat of the Cold War?
Why are you even talking like this? You said you don't actually like this game.
No, it's not that. It's look, I'm just trying... The game doesn't give you enough information to create a solid bluffing game, that's all. Like, okay, so the two of you can play an agent into the region, that means if you lose, you win. But trying to scrutinise what agent your opponent played by watching them play blackjack is like trying to read someone's palms while they're masturbating. This should have been a long game suspended over a shorter one, and instead it's this awkward tarpaulin draped over a blackjack thing, which I'm not even happy with. The attempted enhancement of blackjack through adding powers to cards is clumsy, because there's always a mathematically obvious thing to do. This is not a game of smoke and mirrors like the box claims. It is a foggy disco with the two of you dancing in perfect sequence, grasping weakly for one another's balls.
Well, I like it. Look, it comes in a very small, neat box.
Oh,
that's very sexy.
That's good, yeah.
The actual blackjack itself, I mean, the drawing cards with powers and how those powers affect other cards or cancel them or swap cards with other people, that's a very neat dynamic in itself. Then on top of that, you've got the agents. You don't know who's going to play what. Maybe it's a dud agent who does nothing at all.
You know what? It does have tension because you don't know what your opponent's played. I'll give it that. But it's tension you can't do anything about. It's frustrating. And I don't care that it comes in a small box. It's like my mother always said. It's not the size of your box that counts.
It's what you do with it.
It's the ludographic intent and the degree to which the author actualises this with an economy of rules that resonate with the theme.
Your mother said that.
Yes, she did, actually.
All right, okay. What do you like? If this is a game that I like, and this is, you know, what do you want?
I like castles, big castles, castles with cannons and oil and prisoners under the castle and towers coming out of the castle. Castles.
Castles.
Yes.
Anything in a castle.
Anything at all.
A castle in a castle.
Well, that's technically a keep.
All right. Well, I have got something that you might like. So
really?
Let's do that. Yeah. No, we'll go to my place and we'll.
Let's go to your place.
No,
don't buy CIA versus KGB.
I have to go to the toilet. No.
Get
Good afternoon and welcome to this, the semi-final of the 60th Top Chess Tournament between Ian Nepomniachtchi and Vladimir Kramnik, and they're off.
Oh, very confident pawn movement there from both men.
Oh yes, pornography if you will.
Now if you look on the left, Ian has actually moved his horse. It'd be interesting to see whether he keeps that horse or not.
And indeed, the early game, a terrible time to lose one's horse.
Absolutely, the beginning or in fact any other point in the game. That's Jupiter's push right there. Excellent move.
Ian is considering surely the meringue defence.
Let's
even
see. Oh, there it is.
Yes.
And Vladimir, of course, now.
Yes, he's greased the Peronea.
Wonderful. Now, Ian, of course, is the origin of that wonderful story wherein he once threw his hotel maid out of a window for not knowing what chess was.
Yes, and known in his hometown by the nickname Chess.
Chess, yes. Vladimir, of course, known in his hometown as the nickname Vladimir Chess. Kramnik as well.
And Ian very much looking at his castle on the left.
Oh, are we about to see Ian's signature move? Let's... there it is, the move known as Fidel Castro's dinner.
Means we are very much now at a pivotal point.
Vladimir
in this game.
is in fact likely to do one thing or perhaps an entirely different thing, but he's young, he has many years ahead of him. I think we know which move
he's rash.
We're about to see. Oh! Okay, Paul, we're here. What have you got for me?
Okay, so you want a game that's 100% fair.
That's actually fair, yes.
That's for two players.
Yes.
And that's set in a castle.
Oh, I love castles.
Alright, I might have just the thing for you. Maybe. It's in the cupboard. It's called Stronghold. I need to use the bathroom.
Found it! Stronghold is a weird game. In it, one of you takes control of an army, cowering bravely inside a castle.
Hang on, cowering bravely, that doesn't even make sense.
The other takes control of a force of orcs, goblins and trolls, trying to crack the place open like a safe.
Right. We say it's a weird game because it has a fantasy theme, it has a whole chocolate box of options and spells and choices, and so you might look at it and say, oh, you know, that's a nice bit of fun, but no, Stronghold is a positively intimidating game. For all of its options, there's almost no random chance in the game at all, no dice rolling, no hand card holding, none of that kiddie stuff. It's a game of clockwork cruelty where perfect information sits out in front of you, huddling in the cold light of day, where your success or failure is determined by your ability to see disaster a mile off or only be aware of it when it's knocking at your door or bashing it down.
Yeah, and as the aggressor, what you're seeking to do is tease the hard maths and facts of your situation into traps so you can plunge some other number through your opponent's defences like a deadly stiletto. Because the moment you slip so much as one tiny goblin over any of the game's walls, the game ends. These chocolate boxes of powers the game's given you are poisoned. It's not giving you a lot to play with, it's giving you a lot to remember.
Oh, if you're going to get food, can you get me some breakfast?
No, you're under siege. What? Oh, Paul, how long's this kebab been here?
Oh, that has been here since I moved in.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Awesome. History kebab. Anyway, Paul, can you move the table so we can play? And a sofa. So you might think as the outnumbered defender, yours is the, trouble, the dangerous game, but really as the aggressor, the pressure is on. Because every turn you fail to get into the castle, one of these victory points flips over to your opponent's side. Every turn you spend crashing against the walls like an impotent ocean, the more likely it is you'll ultimately lose, even if you get in. Worse, the system you have of shuttling all your troops in is awful. It's brutal. Look, so you get your troops out of this bag, and then they all arrive at these same 2 points. So while you can attack the castle from 8 sides, ultimately you'll have to spend turn after turn moving the troops to these battlegrounds and then finally up to the wall. The whole time they're being shot at by archers and cannons and God knows what else. And they don't deserve that. Look how small and cute they are. Look how tiny they are compared to an ordinary reference pair.
Thanks, reference pair.
Thanks, reference pair.
I don't know what he's talking about. As the defender, the real terror is yours. Every turn the attacker only grows stronger while you're whittled away. You see these warriors, these cubes around the walls, the archers, the defenders, they're all you get. Ever. And at the end of every round, when they're injured and they go to the hospital, it can only save 2 of them a turn. And he's talking about, grabbing victory points here and there? As a defender, your choices are to release prisoners from the dungeon to man the walls, or take your own buildings apart to fill holes, a vain attempt to shore up your defences, those don't win you points, they lose you points.
So, Paul and I have concluded that defending the castle is tough, and attacking is tougher, and defending the castle is even harder.
Because defending is really hard.
Yeah.
Although attacking is equally harder?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about time.
Yes.
Are you okay? Are you alright? You look a bit Joe Diamond.
You know what? Maybe we've been too tough on Stronghold's aggressor mechanics. There is so much fun to be had in figuring out how to combine poisons and ladders and dark altars, how to combine sergeants and saboteurs and spells and siege towers, trenches and trebuchets, bombs, banners, ballistas and bridges and God knows what else. I mean, just for starters, let's talk about spells. So, spells are the only thing in the game that lasts for one turn. Everything else is permanent, which means they're awful, right? Well, no. For example, Gale. You summon a Gale, your opponent isn't going to be able to move men on or off a particular wall section. You lock them down. Fantastic. Also, say, Spectres. Spectres, if you think you're going to kill lots of humans in the coming assault, you cast Spectres on the hospital. Every human the hospital fails to save will come back to your forces as a ghost. It's like a lock-in at a deli, and you've been given all the ingredients you need to make the perfect sandwich. A murder sandwich.
Time is the oxygen that allows the defender to breathe. Every time the attacker cuts down another tree, every time they put up another palisade, they have to pay the defender in hourglass tokens. And the defender spends these to construct more of their own things, to create more platforms, to throw up cannons, to ferment boiling oils, to throw down at their attackers, or anything of a dozen other things to help keep their castle safe for just one more round. So, another reason Stronghold is a weird game is that the aggressor is his own worst enemy. Every machine they build, every contingent of troops they boss around, every hour they spend chopping down trees, training troops, all this time only makes you more and more prepared. We're very aware that all this imagery makes the game sound like something very colourful and thrilling, so let's not forget that the game's got a mathsy foundation. Let's have an example. You're the defender. A wave of orcs has just swept out from their camping grounds and is marching on your walls. This is it, the besiegers' big play. Men and greenskins alike will die like dogs tonight. What could be going through the opposing general's head at this point? Well, I'll tell you what is. He's thinking.
Okay, so if I've got 3 orcs, that's 2, that's 6, plus 1 goblin, 7.
1 for the archer, 2 for the warrior, 3 for the vet, that's...
Against his, well, he's got 3 wall pieces.
Carry the nothing from the oil, but the salt... Ah, but he's got a banner.
Okay, plus the banner, that's 10, okay. Then he'll have an inspired, so my 10 to his... My 10 to his...
Oh, what if he troll call? Oh, but there's no... Oh, the cannon!
Oh, sod it. What about the next wall? Hark! Who comes? What is it, man? You scared? Now you listen to me, man. There isn't a damn soldier on either side of that wall who isn't scared. And if there is, he's a fool. You hear me? A damn fool. But I'll tell you this. If you really are the most scared man in my army, in standing with the other men, you're also the bravest. Now you think about that.
Don't let us give you the wrong impression. Stronghold's numerical slant is easy to make fun of, but it's also really engaging, doing the mathematics in your head, looking for a hole in your enemy's statistics and then exploiting this and trying to do so with a poker face. It's a fantastically challenging game for both sides. It's going to be different every time you play, partly because the attacker has a whole different set of these cards that they can play with every time. What do you think, Quince? If there's one problem with Stronghold, it's that it's not such a fun game compared to many others we'd recommend. It's a very cerebral challenge, and it's not really so enjoyable when you're winning or losing by a very wide margin. That said, It is a really, really good piece of design, and we think it'd probably be at home in most people's gaming collections. Now I'm going to use my bathroom.
Ah, right, okay, so with the goblin, that's 9 to your 7.
Ah.
That was good. What should we play next?
I don't know, something a bit less mathsy. I need to go to...
Yeah, less college, more bare knuckle boxing.
Yep.
Okay, so if I chose the theme for our second game, then you have to choose the theme for the third.
Whatever. 17th or 18th century colonial Canada.
What the hell is the matter with you?
I gave you a margin.
Yeah, great. Okay,
I
well,
have
come
to-
on.
No,
Let's go back to
no,
mine.
I
I'll see what we
can't.
can do.
Actually, quite urgently.
Paul, come on!
No.
This is embarrassing and very surprising. It's been brought to our attention that we've been getting the names of some of the chess pieces wrong.
Yes. We've got a list here. What we've been calling horses are apparently called rooks, and what we've been calling prawns are scallops.
Yes, and the two large pieces on each side are called the king and the queen, which makes sense and sounds quite nice, I suppose. So they're not, in fact, called the boss and the annihilator.
Hello, we're here at the London... Oh my... Oops. Hello, we're here at the London 2012 Toy Fair, which is in the Kensington Olympia, and we are in search of games. That's quite good. A tiny giraffe.
It's me, Bumblebee from the Woo! With the transport.
Actually cannot get this to stand up, but it's...
Yeah, we can't get in, we've been turned away.
Big-eyed giraffe, which...
Yeah, so we weren't able to get into the Lego booth, but if anyone would like to know what a high-level Lego business meeting looks like, you can just look down there. I'm here with Ben Hogg of Estevium Games, and we're testing Flytrap, which is a game for people 4 years and over. And you have to kind of wait for the... What are they talking about? Yeah, probably they're looking at analysing their figures. Thanks.
Thank you, Quinns, and I'm here with Steve from Estevium Games. Steve, you're a big games fan, but what's your favourite game?
Sorry. It's, well, Kalis.
Yeah. Did you name Estevium Games after being called Steve?
No, it's not my company.
And that's it. That's us signing off from London's Toy and Games Fair 2012 here at Kensington Olympia. I've been Paul Dean.
And I...
Sorry.
Quinton.
And we'll see you next year. What'll that be like? Alright, so because of your nitpicking, we have to find a game that is, for two players, is inarguably great, and you promised me would be set in 17th century colonial Canada.
Yeah, but I didn't mean it. Paul, what if you and I made that game ourselves?
Look, I don't have the time. I need to use the bathroom.
Are you a quitter?
What?
Are you going to go and quit in the bathroom because you quit? Come on, let's do this!
You got the touch!
Oh!
No!
Come on!
No!
Games, Paul!
No!
You got the power! Yeah!
Okay, I'm going to use the bathroom.
Okay, and I'll explain Lords of Canada. So what we've got here is our board showing the 4 regions of Canada. We've got, of course, Alaska, Washington, Quebec, and the Bog of Souls. This is the first player token, which is a Canadian flag. This is Justin Bieber. We have no rules for him yet, but he'll be in an expansion probably. These tokens represent beavers. These are moose. These are moose manure. And then we've got a player screen on the back with rules for beaver fever. I don't know what that is. I think Paul made this. Paul, could you explain this to...
Quinns, what is this?
Oh, that's it's a few acres of snow. It's a war game for 2 players set in colonial Oh my god, it's perfect! What are you looking at me like that for? A Few Acres of Snow is set in 1754 and covers the French and English fighting for control of their colonies. Now, that probably doesn't sound very cool, but what if I told you that A Few Acres of Snow had towns called Berwickwood and Ticonderoga and Okay, so maybe it isn't the coolest game, but you should know about it for two reasons. The first of which is that it's fabulous. Imagine it soaring across a basketball court to slam dunk a Nobel Prize. That's the kind of brilliance you're paying for here. The other reason you should know about it is that it is secretly, soul-scratchingly horrific. Part of that's because it's poignant. You will resort to the most filthy underhand tactics and abuse of Native Americans just to be in with a chance of burning one of your opponent's settlements to the ground. But the other reason it's horrific is that it's very simple. It is, for a war game, it's very simple. And you'll learn the rules and you'll look at the version board and you'll say something to your opponent like, better get the plate, Paul, because you're about to get served.
What does that even mean?
And then you'll start playing. And within 15 minutes, you'll have gotten yourself into a mess so unfathomably ugly that you'll find yourself physically recoiling from the table.
Exactly what is the source of this terror? Well, it's the very simple mechanic behind the game. Each player will get a deck of cards, and every turn they will draw 5 of these. They represent personnel or material or areas you control, and then they'll discard them to play them, to do one of a series of actions, and then they'll just draw back up to 5 again. Why is this so terrifying? Well, an example. Let's say you want to colonise Fort Beauséjour, and you do, because the game is won by conquering and holding territory. You need to first of all find a card in your hand that says it's connected. Port Royal says at the top it's connected to Fort Beauséjour, and that's good. So you play that card to show you have a connection, but because there is a sea between the two, you'll need also to play another card that has ships on from your hand. That's fine. That has a ship on the bottom. You see, a little ship. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. So now you can do that. You might need a settler's card as well, but you don't in this case. That's okay. That's great. Now you have fort, but you've got it, and so you take the card and you add that card to your deck. Except fort, it's not very good. It just has beavers on it, and that's all it does. But now that's part of your deck all the time, and your deck just got flabbier.
While you and your opponent will be wrestling over this board, this deck will be your own private battleground. Throughout the game, you'll be buying armies, you'll be conquering locations, you'll be commissioning cannons and canoes and crooked bureaucrats, turning your deck into an increasingly unbalanced, awkward monster. The first time you draw a hand of 5 cards that you can't do anything with, you'll feel like this deck just bit you.
Really, it's a remarkable way of simulating the complex logistics of war. For example, if you have just one army and a bunch of territories, then your troops are spread too thin. Or if you spend your time recruiting loads of militia and Indians, then you're going to be tripping over them all the time while you're trying to get on with other serious
You're
work.
making it sound boring!
Well, you made it sound like Hammer Horror.
Yeah, but I don't know if either of us are making it sound fun.
Okay. It's important to remember that this deck mechanic isn't just farting in your ear, it's also screwing your opponent up all the time. You're both in the same boat, except that it's more of a canoe. And you're having a knife fight in the canoe. And the canoe's in a tar pit and it's sinking, and with every slash in motion you're getting deeper and deeper into this paralysing glue.
But this deck building system isn't just a pain in the money maker, it's also a totally unique challenge. Let's say Paul wants to invade the town of Albany here. I get the chance to watch him buy armies and boats that he'll need for the invasion, and he's going to have to play those cards with the connected Fort Stanwix card. We don't know when he'll get the chance to start that siege, we don't know whether he'll succeed, we don't know when the siege will end, but what we do know is that the two of us will be biting our nails and panicking in terms of preparations before that battle happens, and whichever of us succeeds will be beaming with pride. What A Few Acres of Snow has done with this deck system is it slowed down the scale and the pace of a traditional war game, making it something more accessible and fun, without being any less epic. Another reason this is better than a traditional wargame framework is that it's excruciatingly easy to see where you've gone wrong. You have too much of this card, too little of that card. Your plan doesn't suit your deck. Of course, that was only one battle. Now imagine a whole frontier of invasions and plots and possibilities. It is no exaggeration to say that you will buy a card, it'll cycle round into your deck and into your hand, and you'll look, and you'll have no idea why you bought it.
An hour into the game, your deck will have doubled in size. It'll have grown from that petite little child with all the possibilities that it had through an ordinary teenager into an obese adult that you have no control over. Which, as Quinn says, is part of the appeal, because although it's a fascinatingly cruel and complex puzzle, this deck building mechanic, it's also capable of dealing out exactly the cards you'll need on a particular turn, which makes every turn exciting. It's like pulling the giant leaden lever on a slot machine of war.
Exactly! What else is cool?
Indians. Right. Although it's really complicated trying to raid another settlement and conquer it, it's worth almost as many victory points if you just burn it. And you can do that by hiring Indians. Although it costs you money. And your opponent can hire Indians, commandos as well, and block you. And, well, it's quite exciting that we should give a demonstration to give an example of how it's not just another creaky old war game. Indian raid on Fort Halifax from Kennebec.
Block! Indian raid on Kennebec from Fort Halifax.
Blocks. Indian raid, the same, more Indians.
Block! Indian raid on Kennebec from Fort Halifax.
Block!
Son of a bitch! And so Kennebec and Fort Halifax are saved, and maybe next turn, yourself and your opponent will play the fortification card, letting you brick up those settlements, leaving them safe from Indian attack, but leaving the two of you with decks choked with Native Americans.
Eventually, you'll want to buy this card, the Governor. This will be the firm hand of authority that you'll spank your deck back into submission with. Every time you draw the Governor, you can play him to dismiss 2 cards permanently from your deck, but the hook of the Governor is not just that you might want to keep those cards, but by getting him, you're just adding another card to your deck, more stuff.
I love this game. We've said before that with great games, the moment you finish them, you want to set the board back and play them again properly using everything you've learned. A Few Acres of Snow has this something fierce, though you won't play it twice in a row any more than you'd watch Dances with Wolves twice. All the same, your instinct is correct. The second time you play it will be much easier than the first.
No, it won't. You'll be screwed.
Yeah, you're right, you'll probably be screwed. All the same, we thoroughly recommend it, though it is still a war game, and as such, it has lots of pastel colours and wooden cubes, and as such, it's going to appeal to lots of people as much as a turd in a burger. However, for the other spectrum of people who want to test the brackish waters of war games, this is perfect as an entry title. Paul?
Well, I don't think there's anything exactly like it out there. It's a war game where your own worst enemy in this war is your bureaucracy.
Exactly. So, this, I think, is our chosen dueling game.
Right. Bathroom. What the hell are you doing?
Paul, I don't know if A Few Acres of Snow is the game we want to recommend people.
Yes it is. No, for once, we said we would review 1 versus 1 dueling games, and we did that, and we did it without getting lost in time and space, or being shot, or anything.
Look, I mean, A Few Acres of Snow is incredible, but...
Yes it is! Get out!
But what if incredible isn't enough? Paul, ordinarily board games are just a bit of fun, but with 1 versus 1 games, that desire to best someone, that comes from something animal inside of us. We need a game that appeals to that animal. We need something as mad as it is huge.
You don't mean...
Yeah.
This is Memoir 44. You may remember we reviewed it all the way back in episode 1 of Shut Up and Sit Down. It's a very simple, very elegant wargame built around two core ideas. One, command cards. You'll play one every turn. It could be an attack on the flank, an airstrike, an infantry assault. Makes the game, which is already flawed, is even more simple and tense and accessible and exciting. And then there's the dice. The dice are very simple. You roll to match with the unit, see if you can destroy it, or roll a flag, you'll send the enemy running. Again, very cute, very simple, very easy to grab. The game is lightweight and yet tense. It's dramatic, coiled like a piano wire. This is Memoir 44 Overlord, an expansion to what is probably our favourite dueling game. Scenarios are bought separately and they're the mother of all two-player games because I guess strictly speaking they're not really a two-player game.
In Memoir 44 Overlord, you won't just be in charge of a battle, you'll be in charge of your friends. 2 of your friends will be fighting over this scrap of land. 2 more will be wrestling here. 2 more will be fighting over this bit. Each of these battles is deeply personal, but you won't be involved. Instead, you're the general. You're doling out Memoir 44's signature order cards to your friends. Cutest of all, Overlord has a rule whereby you can only talk to one of your commanders every turn.
So you're leaning down to your friend here and you whisper to him, kill that offensive, and you pass him an artillery barrage card. And then you look across the table and you see your opponent laughing with one of his generals as he crushes your flank. You look at that guy, he's no fool, he'll last another turn out of radio contact.
We could tell you how Memoir 44's evocative nature becomes magical when you add a team element. How it cuts a chasm between the two teams, camaraderie between the commanders, and even a weird hierarchical thing where your team will start resenting and loving their general in equal measure.
We could tell you that it's a must-buy, even if you can only muster 5 or 6 of the 8 players you actually need to buy it. We could tell you that it makes the very best of the most important element of any board game, which is the human element.
But we're hoping you're already sat there grinning like an idiot at the thought of playing this with your friends on a lazy Sunday.
So that's it. We'll simply say that Memoir 44 Overlord is the definitive mother of best of absolute dueling game. Get it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do now?
Thanks for watching another episode of Shut Up and Sit Down, everyone. I want to have breakfast.
Oh.
So I'm going to do that.
You haven't had breakfast yet? Wait, Paul, I'm not sure.
What? What now?
This might not be the...
Are you kidding? I want to have breakfast. No.
Look, it's too intimidating. We need an alternative. Why don't we end with something as small as
There is no... Listen to me. There is no time. The credits are
Then
going
help me!
past.
Akio, Jungle Speed!
Oh, not magic again.
Paul, come on! Okay, so Jungle Speed is a game that's super popular in France. I don't know what that means, but it is. And it's kind of like to snap what a twister is to sex, or the other way around, whatever it is. This is the totem. There you go.
Thank you.
So what you're doing is you're trying to match symbols, which are, but you're
All the symbols are so
sucks to be you.
All the symbols are so similar that it's actually really difficult. It's like snap.
Adults. The best thing about Jungle Speed is unquestionably that you can break your fingers playing if you're a competitive sort. But you can play it however you want. You can. I didn't touch it. You can place the symbol in the next room. Or you can... Oh, you touched it! Oh!
I didn't.
I did. You
My
touched
card
it. That's
touched
the
it.
rule.
My card.
Paul.